starting with this chapter, and in each of the remaining chapters, we're going to have a lab at the end of the chapter that basically just tests what you've learned so far. Now, in our first lab, we're going to explore creating the basic structure of a new HTML document. Before we get started with that, I want to show you what we're going to be building over the course of the remaining chapters. We're going to build this little reference site up and running with HTML. You're looking at the first page here, Introduction to HTML. So essentially, this has a nice little intro to HTML, some history, timeline. We have a page where you can learn a little bit more about HTML syntax, so the markup itself. We have another page that talks about creating links that we'll be doing a lot of when we get into the link chapter. We have an existing HTML reference page where you can learn about common HTML terms and learn about some of the special characters that we can place in HTML. Finally, we have this sort of next steps, which is really just sort of explains my philosophy about learning web design and then gives you guys some additional resources that you can go check out online when you're learning HTML. This is what we're going to be building eventually. So we're going to start from scratch by building the basic structure of these documents. So I want to go back into our code editor, and I'm going to open up the intro.htm from the 02_06 directory. Now, not a lot going on in this file right now, but it's not totally empty. What you're seeing at the very top of the page here, this is what's called an HTML comment. And we're going to learn more about them in a little bit. But right now, what this is giving us is instructions on what we need to do for this particular lab. Now, you can do all of this below the comment. So the comment can be the very first thing that shows up, and you can just go ahead and start coding directly underneath that. The first thing we'll need is an HTML5 document type declaration. After that, we're going to add an HTML element to identify the fact that this is an HTML file. And you should specify in that HTML element using an attribute that the document is going to be using English. Now, after that, go ahead and add the head of the document inside the HTML element. Inside the head, you're going to add a meta tag that sets the character set to UTF-8. And then after that, you want to add a title, and the title of this document is going to be Introduction to HTML. Just after the head, you'll add the body tag. And inside the body, you're going to add some div tags to create sections. And the sections are going to be identified using the ID attribute for each div tag. And you're going to have 3 of them. You'll have header, content, and footer. Below the comment, you'll see this content that's on the page right here. This is just placeholder content, and you can copy or cut that and then paste that into the div tags. As a matter of fact, I recommend cutting it so that you don't have this sort of extra content down below the closing HTML tag. Build your HTML directly after that, and then just sort of move this up into those div sections to serve as placeholder content once we're done. So that's your first lab. Now, after you're finished, or if you get stuck, you can check out the lab solution movie in the 02_06 finished files directory if you want to compare your work to mine.